Hey, it's Alexis. I have this giant box full of books that I'm unhauling. So I just wanted to go through and do a little bit of an unhaul for you because I think watching those videos are fun. So I wanted to make one. So I have a mixture of books in here. Some of them I haven't read, some of them I have. And I will try to give like a quick reason of why I'm getting rid of them. But yeah, I plan on putting all of these in little free libraries or something. Anyway, let's just go ahead and get started. So the first one I have is The Only Purple House in Town by Anne Aguirre. And I actually won this in a Goodreads giveaway, but they sent me 2 of them. And I don't need 2 of them, so I am just gonna put one in a little free library. Next we have One Day by David Nichols. And I just don't see myself actually reading this book. There's a sticky note in here. I don't really know what that says. But I got this from the Goodwill. It's been on my shelf for a while and I just don't actually see myself picking it up and reading it. So I'm gonna put it in a little free library and hopefully somebody will see it and want to read it. Next up we have Aragon, I think they say it, by Chris Poloni. And again, I don't actually see myself reading this. I thought I was going to, but I don't know if I'm actually like into dragons or not. Never really read anything about dragons, so probably just, if I decide to read this later, then I might, but right now I don't think I'm gonna read it. Next we have Once Upon a December by Amy E. Reinhardt. I don't know. I read a few Christmas books last year and I didn't like them all that much. So I don't know if I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if I'm like a Christmas book person, but I don't think I'm gonna read this one. I have a couple left on my shelf that I need to read this year. So after I read those, I'll see. But yeah, I don't think that I'm gonna read this one. And then we have The Holiday Switch by Tiff Marcello. And I did read this one last year. And it just was really disappointing to me. I think I gave it like 2.5 or 3 stars. But the back, like reading the back of it, it made it sound so much better than what it actually was. It says that she ends up like switching phones with this guy that like gets a job at her family's merch shop or whatever. And they do switch phones, but it's only for like 3 pages and then they switch back. But the back made it sound like that was like the big plot of this, and yeah, I didn't really care for it that much. Next, I'm going to be unhauling As Old as Time by Liz Broadwell. And I actually really loved this book. I gave it 4 stars, 4.5 stars, something like that. But I got the hardcover of this the other day at Half Price Books. And most of the rest of the series is hardcover, so I'm just gonna put that one in the local library. Next is All I Want for Christmas by Wendy Logata, or Laga. I don't know how to say her name. I am so sorry. But again, I just don't think I'm actually gonna read this one. So we're gonna put it in a little free library. I mean, it sounds really cute. Maybe? No, I'm not gonna read it. I need to stop. Next is Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. Again, I just don't think I'm gonna read it. It sounds good, but it's been on my shelf for a year and I haven't thought about it or touched it, so. The next one is The Undoing of Thistle Tate by Caitlin Detweiler. Sorry if I said that wrong. This one sounds really cool, actually, but I just don't think I'm gonna read it. Because I feel, okay, I still like young adult books, but I feel like I'm like growing more out of them. And this is about a 17-year-old, so the premise sounds good, but I just don't want to rate it lowly because I don't really like it. I don't know. So we're just gonna unhaul it. Because I want to be fair, you know, I want to give it the rating it deserves. Next is First Down by Grace Riley. And I absolutely hated this book. I wanted so bad to love it because isn't this cover just so cute? Like, I absolutely wanted to love this. But I didn't. I hated every minute of this. This book uses the word tits so much. Nobody in the world ever talks like that to begin with. But it was like every other sentence or something had that word in it. We're putting that one in the little free library. I don't even know what to say about it. I just didn't like it. And the next one is Until Friday Night by Abby Glines. And if you watched my video, my husband picks what I read for a week. He picked this one for me. And I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It wasn't terrible, but I didn't like some of the themes in this book. So this book is about West, whose dad's dying of cancer. It's also about Maggie, who watched her dad murder her mom. It's a good book, like, with that aspect of it, but they're high schoolers, and the things that are happening at the school is, like, so cringy, and they talk bad about women and stuff in here, and I just didn't really like that. And there was also racism, and I'm not okay with that either. So I don't think I'm going to read any more of this series. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and unhaul the first one. Maybe someone else will be okay with it, but I didn't like this one. The next one is In the Deep End by Kate Davies. I really think the cover's kind of cool. It's like a big eye. I don't know. But I just don't think I'm going to read this one either. So I'm going to just donate it. I can't even tell you what it's about, but I don't think I'm going to read it. Next we have One Fatal Mistake by Tom Hunt. And I'm pretty sure I found this at Dollar Tree a couple years ago. It says, her son accidentally kills a man. They cover it up, and then everything goes wrong. And it sounds very interesting, but I'm also just not a huge thriller person. I get spooked very easily. And so I know I have a few, like you can probably see like the housemaid right here. Like I know I have a few thrillers and stuff on my shelves, but I like read through the synopsis and I'm like, okay, I think I can handle this, but like I don't think I can handle this one. I think I would get too scared, so I think I'm just gonna unhaul it. Next is Island Affair by Priscilla Oliveras, and I honestly don't know what this one's about, but again, it's been on my shelf for like 2 years, so it's gotta go. Next up I have After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I haven't read this one before, but I have 2 copies of it because I bought a blind date with a book and they gave me this one and I already owned it. So I'm just going to unhaul the second copy. Same with Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. I did a blind date with the book and got this one and I already own it. So we're just going to unhaul the second one. Next is Bad Luck Bridesmaid by Allison Rose Greenberg. And I read this one last year. But I'm going to be honest with you, I can't remember anything about this book. There's like one scene in this book that I can remember. It's something about them being on a raft in the water. But other than that, I have no idea what happened in this book. I remember rating it 3 stars. And I was just kind of bored, I remember, the whole time reading it. So that's probably why nothing sticks with me. But the premise sounded really good. That's why I like, you know, originally read it. But I don't see myself ever rereading this, and I don't think I want to keep it because like I said, I don't remember what happens in it. So hopefully this can find someone else who really loves it because it wasn't me. Next I have, so this is Christmas by Jenny Holiday. So I started to read this in like the middle of December of 2022 and I finished it in the middle of January or beginning of January or something, 2023. And this book took me so long to read and I wanted to DNF it so bad, but that was like the beginning of me getting back into reading, so I didn't want to start DNFing books at that point yet. I was like, no, just push through it. And this put me in a reading slump. Like, this was like the 3rd book that I read when I started reading again, and it put me in a reading slump, and it was terrible. I don't recommend this book. I don't know what it is about it, but it's so boring. And I saw that Haley Pham was also reading this book at one point. She did DNF it, and I should have been smart like her and DNF'd it, because this book was terrible. So, I know I think this is like the 2nd or 3rd one in this series. I don't know if the other ones are good or not. But don't read this one because it's terrible. Yeah, I don't know. So I have Dead Girls Can't Tell Secrets, and this one is also like a thriller-y book. Yeah, I think I'm just going to be too scared to read it. I don't know. If you've read this one and it's good, let me know. Maybe I won't. If it's not too scary, maybe I'll keep it, but that's why it's in this pile. Next I have Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer, and I have not read this one yet, but I do have 2 copies of it. The other one is right here. I don't need 2 copies of it since I haven't even read it. I don't even know if I like it, so I'm just gonna put this one in a little free library. Next we have Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. Yeah, I didn't like this one either. This one I ended up giving 2 stars, I think, or 2.5. Mulan's never been a favorite of mine, ever, so I didn't like this one. But I love Disney. So when I found the hardcover of this, I bought it, even though I didn't like this book, just to keep it on my shelf with the rest of the series. Because I also feel weird about getting rid of part of a series and keeping the rest of them. So I'm keeping the hardcover and just getting rid of the paperback, but I didn't like this book at all. And I know that's probably weird, but it is who I am. Next I have Undead and Unpopular by Mary Janice Davidson. And I actually found this in a little free library. And it is autographed. Yeah, it's autographed. But the problem is this is like book 6 or something in a series. And it sounds good, but I don't have any of the other ones in the series, so I don't actually think I'm going to read it. So I think I'm just going to put it back in a little free library. Next I have You Reached Sam by Dustin Teo. I haven't read this one, but I did just get the paperback when it came out. So I don't need 2 copies, so I'm getting rid of the hardcover. Because I am more of a paperback person. It's just, I don't know, they're just easier to hold in your hand when you're reading. Next is Heartbreakers and Fakers by Cameron Lund. And I read this one last year. And I don't think I liked it. I remember this is a YA book and is about a girl who cheats on her boyfriend with like her best friend's boyfriend or something like that. And then her best friend gets back at her by going after her boyfriend. I don't know. It was like high school drama. And I was a little bit interested at the time, but I remember thinking that it was really cringy. And maybe I just wasn't the right audience for it because I'm older. But yeah, hopefully this finds a good home and somebody like actually really loves it. Next I have Where She Went and If I Stay by Gail Forman. And I've never read the books of these, but I have watched this movie. And the movie's really, really sad, so I don't think I can read the book. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and put these in a little free library. I know that they used to be popular when I was younger, but maybe someone will find them still and like them. I don't know. Another one is Games for the Super Intelligent by Games for the Super Intelligent by James Fix. And this one is like hard. So you have like games like this where you have to like make things like out of matches and figure out how to do it correctly and stuff like that. This is not for me. I'm not smart enough for this book, so yeah, we're not gonna keep it. The next one I have is A Christmas Carol Murderer. Nope, that's not what that says. Next we have A Christmas Carol Murder, A Dickens of a Crime by Heather Redman. I've never actually read A Christmas Carol. I watched the movie and I watched the play, but never like actually read it. But this is like a twist on that and it's a murder, I guess. I don't know. It kind of sounded interesting, but again, I don't think I'm actually going to read it. Next I have Eleanor Elephant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And I haven't read this book, but I already have a copy of it, so we're just going to put it in the little library. Next we have The Kissing Booth by Beth Reckles. I hated this book. Pretty sure I gave this like 2 stars or something. I love the movie. The movie is so good. The book, not so much. But I also have the movie cover of this book and it matches the rest of the series that I have like on the top shelf up there. So I'm just gonna unhaul this cover. That was the original cover and I know I don't like movie covers of books, but I like the movie cover of that book better than this one. Next we have Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. I just don't think that this one is gonna be for me, and like it's a bunch of text messages and stuff in here. I don't know. This just doesn't sound interesting to me anymore like it did when I picked it up. So maybe someone else will enjoy it. So next we have What Happens Next by Claire Swinarski. This one is more of a middle grade book and I just don't think I'm actually going to read it. It says it's about a 12-year-old. So I'm going to put this in a little free library and hopefully a kid finds it and picks it up. Next we have Cinder by Marissa Meyer. And I bought this one recently because I really wanted the original cover of this book. But this one is kind of messed up and nasty, so I don't really want this on my shelf. So that's the other reason I'm putting it in a little free library. Then we have Autumn's Kiss by Bella Thorne. I'm pretty sure that this is part of a series. I don't really like Bella Thorne. Never really have, but I wanted to give this a shot, but I just think that I'm too old for it. So, not even gonna. Next we have The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. And yeah. So I only read to page 7 of this book and I hated every minute of it. So I don't think I'm going to continue this book. So I'm just going to get it out of my sight. Next we have Before You Go by Tommy Butler. I found this at Dollar Tree. The back sounded kind of intriguing to me at the time, but now that I read the back again, I don't really think I want to read this one. But it feels kind of cool. Like the leaves have actual texture on them. Next we have Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. And I ended up getting this one at a little free library, but I just don't think I'm going to read it. I really love it. Like the cover's so pretty, but I'm not going to leave it sit on my shelf and not be read. Next we have Normal People by Sally Rooney. I have this on my Kindle and I've tried to read it before and I didn't really like it. So I don't think I'm going to finish it, or if I do, I'll just do it on my Kindle, but I don't think I'm going to love it. So I'm just going to get rid of the physical copy that I have. Next we have Meet Me at the Cupcake Cafe by Jenny Colgan. And again, I tried to read this one too, but I didn't like it. This one is, okay, so this has been on my shelf since probably 2013 or 2014. I tried to pick it up this year, and I don't think this is for me anymore. This is a young adult book, I'm pretty sure. And I just couldn't get into it. I was so bored. I made it 2 chapters in and I was bored the whole time. And I didn't care about the characters or anything. But there is something cool about this book. Every chapter, there's a recipe and instructions on how to make certain cupcakes and desserts. So that's interesting. That's an interesting reason to pick this up if you're a baker or something. But hopefully somebody likes this book, because I sure didn't. And I feel bad, but I didn't like it. Next we have The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna by Julia Grimes. This one sounds interesting, but again, I don't think I'm going to pick it up and read it. I have 537 books that I am still interested in reading, so I'm going to prioritize those over other books. So if I don't feel any joy towards it, it's just going. Next up, I have a bunch of bookmarks. I have a bunch of these extra ones that I'm never going to use. So I think I'm going to put a few in little free libraries when I distribute all these books. So that's why those are in the box. Next we have Love Does by Bob Goff. And I got this at a little free library and it sounded interesting. It's like a memoir type book, but I just don't even know who this is. So I'm not that interested in reading it. I've been lately wanting to read memoirs and stuff, but if it's people I've heard of and know who they are. But I don't think I'm gonna read this one. Sorry, Bob. Next I have All I Want for Christmas by Maggie Knox. And again, I read this one last year and I hated it. I could not stand the main character, the main guy character. He was awful. I don't know how to explain it. He was just an awful person. So I don't want this to stay on my shelf, so we're gonna get rid of it. Next up I have The Last Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish. And again, this is another memoir, but I don't know who this is, so I'm not as interested in reading it anymore. When I picked it up, I was just oh, memoir, I'm gonna read it. Memoir, I'm gonna read it, but I'm not. I don't know who these people are, so I'm not gonna read it. I'm just being realistic now. Next I have The 1 in a Million Boy by Monica Wood. And I don't know what this is about. I'm gonna be real honest with you, but it's been on my shelf for a long time, so it's gotta go because I've never drawn towards it. There's tape on this box and it keeps moving and it's freaking me out every time. I keep jumping thinking that there's some bug or something there. Next we have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I don't know anything about this book, but I've not seen the best reviews on Goodreads about it. So it makes me nervous, but also I just don't think I'm gonna read it. I have not been inclined to read it since it's been on my shelf. I look at it and I'm the cover's pretty, and that's about all I think about it, so again, it's just gotta go. Next I have The Missing Years by Lexi Elliott. And again, this is a thriller. I'm not a huge thriller girl. There we go. Then we have I Almost Forgot About You by Terry McMillan. Don't know a single thing about this book. Successful but stuck in a rut, it's time for Georgia to shake things up. I don't know. Gotta go. Next I have The Engagement by J. Courtney Sullivan. Oh, this book has deckled edges. I don't know. It's a novel about marriage, about those who marry in a white heat of passion, those who marry for partnership and comfort, and those who live together, love each other, and have absolutely no intention of ruining it all with a wedding. I don't think that's for me. I don't know. Next they have One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. And I haven't read this one, but I have the paperback, so we're getting rid of the hardcover. Next I have Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me and Other Concerns by Mindy Kaling. And I actually know who this is, but I tried to read this one and I wasn't interested in it, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Next I have The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Yeah, I just don't think I'm gonna read this one. I tried. It's kind of like journal entries and stuff at the beginning. I don't know if it's, looks like it's like that the whole time. But I tried to get into this one, and I just couldn't, so it's gotta go as well. Next we have The Dirty Book Club by Lacey Harrison. I just don't think I'm gonna read this one. That's all I got. I don't think I'm gonna read it. Next up is Atomic Love by Jenny Fields. And this one sounds really good, but I'm not a huge history person. Like, okay, I like some history things, but I don't think I'm gonna read it because it's like historical fiction. I don't know. I have a couple Kristen Hanna books on my shelf. If I like those, then maybe I do like historical fiction, but I haven't read them yet, so I don't know if I like them. If I end up liking those, maybe I'll try this one, but right now, it's going. Next we have The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks, and I hated this book. I don't really know what it was about this book, but I wanted to DNF it like 20 pages in. I should have, because nothing really happened nothing good happened. I felt like, what was her name? Hold on. Allie, that's her name. I felt like Allie was cheating on her fiance. That's what I'm going to say about it. I'm sure most of you watched the movie and read the book. I felt weird about it. It felt like cheating. I felt wrong. I didn't like this one. Hopefully someone else likes it. Next I have Losing It by Cora Carmack. I hate this cover. I don't know. Makes me want to cry. I just don't think I'm going to read it. And then I have Something Like Fate by Suzanne Colasanti. This book has been on my shelf forever too, and I've never wanted to pick it up. 2010, guys. 2010. It's gotta go. Next we have Get a Clue by Jill Shalvis. It says, when she gets left at the altar, she decides the best thing to do is to go on her honeymoon alone. Of course, she loses her luggage along the way and ends up snowed in at Sierra Mountain Lodge, run by noticeably quirky staff. And before she can order room service, she finds a naked and gorgeous man taking a shower in her suite who refuses to leave. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that actually sounds good. Maybe I should keep this one. You know what? I think I'm gonna keep this one. That's gonna be a Christmas read this year. Next I have Meet Cute by Helena Hunting. And the cover's cute. This has been on my shelf for years. Never once went near it. Gotta go. Same with Shuffle Repeat by Jen Klein. This has been on my shelf probably since it came out. Sorry friend, you gotta go. Next we have Fireworks by Katie. Don't know how to say her last name, Katie. I'm sorry. Never gonna read it. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just been sitting on my shelf. Then I have The Elite and The Selection. And I'm probably not gonna read this one. Like this series, and I only have the first two anyway. But I'm probably never gonna read the series. I don't know. Maybe I might at some point. Hopefully this finds someone who will actually read it. If I decide after I get through all these that I want to read it, I'll pick it up then. But right now, it's gotta go. Next I have Uninvited by Lisa Turkhurst. If I said your name wrong, I'm so sorry. This is by a Christian author. It's about this person who feels like they're left out a lot, and they're like writing to us as the audience on how to get past the feeling of rejection and being left out and all that. And I struggle with those feelings a lot. So my grandma bought me this book, but I'm not going to read it because it makes me feel bad about myself. Next I have 8 Perfect Hours by Leah Lewis. It just doesn't sound interesting to me anymore. Same with The Key to My Heart. Like, these covers are really pretty by this author. They're so pretty. But the subject matter just doesn't seem very interesting to me anymore, so I'm not going to keep it. And then I have Tell Me Lies by Carola Lovering. I just don't think I'm going to read this one either. I know it's a show, so maybe I'll watch the show and then decide I want to read the book, but it just doesn't sound interesting anymore. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this one, but I'm going to get rid of the Twisted series by Anna Huang. I tried to read this one, and the guy is super toxic, and I hate him. And I know that this follows like different couples, but I can't even get through this one, so I'm not going to try on the rest of them. And all the Goodreads reviews that I've seen, they're not the best. And yeah, hopefully this finds someone who's like interested in it, because it's not me. I'm going to put them all in a little free library together. Next I have The Herd by Emily Edwards. It says there's 2 best friends who are polar opposites, but their unexpected friendship has always worked. They're the best of friends and godmothers to each other's daughters because they both trust the safety of their children is top priority. But little do they know that they differ over one very important issue. One of them is afraid of being judged, tells what is supposed to be a harmless white lie before a child's birthday party. The consequences are more catastrophic than either of them could have ever imagined. Every parent's worst nightmare. That sounds terrifying. No. Then we have The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. This one also has deckled edges or pages, whatever it's called. I just don't think I'm gonna read it. I know a lot of people love this one, but I also don't want to cry that much. Next up is The Stolen Lady by Laura Morelli, and this one sounds interesting to me, but it's another historical fiction, and I don't know if I'm gonna read it. So if you've read this one and it's good, let me know. Maybe I'll keep it. Next we have An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher. And just the cover of this alone looks creepy. And it starts out with, I'm gonna kill her. You better come if you want to save her. No thanks. And then we have 5 more. The main reason for these, I'm gonna be honest. The main reason is it's these little books. I don't like the feel of these in my hand, and I don't like the look of them on my shelf with my other books. So that's the main reason they're going, but I'm going to talk about them all individually. So first we have Written in the Stars by Nora Roberts, and okay, we're just going to throw them. And this text in this one, really small. This one has 2 stories in it. I'm not interested in it. And then we have Death is Like a Box of Chocolates by Kathy Ahrens. I might be interested in this one because it sounds like a cozy mystery type book, but it's been on my shelf for a long time and I haven't touched it, and it's a little book, so I don't think I'm gonna ever touch it. Then we have a book by Donna Van Leer that has 2 Christmas stories in it. So we have A True Christmas, we have The Christmas Note and The Christmas Town, because it's 2 different Christmas books. Again, I'm not a huge Christmas book person apparently, because I haven't really liked any of the ones I've read. Then I have Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate, and I've heard really good things about this one, but it's also really sad and I'm scared, so yeah. And then the last one is Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, and I have not heard the great things. I've not heard the best things about Agatha Christie. So I don't think that this book's going to be for me. So yeah, those are all the books that I'm going to be unhauling over the next few months or whatever. Like I said, I'm putting all of these in little free libraries. So whenever I have a chance to go, I will obviously record some of it and post videos for you. At one point or another within the next few months, you'll probably see all these going into little free libraries if you want to stick around and watch that. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.